first one is the minutes. Everybody okay? Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved. Our first item on the agenda is probation with a personnel resolution. Oh, we got Ann Rooney. Hi.
Good morning, everyone. Director Jackson is at a conference in Albany. Otherwise, she'd be standing here. This is the creation of a senior probation officer. It's part of the DCJS grant of $1 million that was accepted last month. This is just a follow-up to that, and that position will be created using those funds, and it will be in order to coordinate all of our school threat activities that are ongoing in the county in partnership with the sheriff and many other law enforcement agencies.
Questions? Brian?
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Brian.
Customary for us with grant money, you know, and you guys provided a great answer on that. Could you just maybe because I think the intent this time isn't if the grant runs out, we're not doing it. No, the commitment is to do it.
Yes.
So what's the plan?
So if the grant funding is not an annual appropriation from the state, we will be able to use Raise the Age monies that we receive because it will all be around school threat, and then this person will be responsible for anyone who has been accused of a crime related to a school threat. This probation officer will follow those cases all the way through, thus the attachment to Raise the Age.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion? Nadisha, second? Julie, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next is Parks and Rec, Brian Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. The reason we are on the agenda today is we would like to spend the remaining balance from the Veterans Cemetery's Perpetual Care Fund. As we're aware, this money is restricted to the Veterans Cemetery. And we also have confirmed that all refunds have gone back for burials, and there is also a separate account to facilitate refunds if some do happen to come up along the line. So we're looking to spend the remainder, which is $208,759.76. And we're looking to replace some really old equipment with new pieces that, you know, make us more efficient and allow us to continue what we're doing out at the cemetery. So the first piece we would like to purchase is an Exmark 144-inch mower. That's $70,000. That's going to replace 3 frontline mowers, 1 from 2003 and 2 from 2013. Due to use and age, the current mowers have reached the end of their useful life. The cost of repairs needed exceeds the value of the mowers, and some parts are no longer available. Great thing about this mower is it's 144 inches, so its efficiency, its width, the fact that it has tracks, that allows us to move more efficiently and mow in tougher weather. It's got substantial cutting width, which would significantly reduce mowing time, allowing maintenance staff to cover more ground quickly and with fewer passes. The increased efficiency would not only save on labor costs, but also minimize equipment wear and fuel consumption. Additionally, the Exmark's superior cutting capabilities use a uniform, high-quality appearance, preserving the dignity and serene atmosphere of the cemetery. The primary functions, mowing. And what's nice about this, as you're aware, and we've talked about, you know, several times here, Mondays and Fridays are maintenance days at the Veterans Cemetery, and this will allow us to be faster and do even more. And also, you know, we had a tough run here a little bit with Memorial Day this year. 8-9 straight days of rain, grass overgrown, people wondering why, you know, we weren't exactly 100%, you know, the week before. This will allow us to put us in a better spot when we have those early wet conditions. Second piece we want to get is a 2025 Ford F-50 dump truck. Cost on that is $75,000. This is going to replace our current dump truck, 2011. Since 2021, this vehicle has been out of service for 232 days. Since 2021, repair costs have been $10,666. Due to the use, the current vehicle is rusting and falling apart. In addition, the vehicle is showing overall wear and tear due to the daily use of hauling soil, rock spoils, and other items in the grave digging process. So this is, the dump had a shot on this, and as you know, we use a dump truck in every single burial. We haul the spoils from each grave site to a spoil pile, so it's very crucial for us to have a active and working dump truck. As I read, this has been in and out of service lots of times. This vehicle is kind of a jack-of-all-trades vehicle, too. It's going to work with burials, maintaining the grounds, snow plowing, and transporting heavy materials and equipment around the cemetery. We put all of the headstones in at the cemetery, all 6,500 of them. This allows us to haul efficiently, along with the dirt. And the last piece is a bucket tractor, a Kubota SCL 1000 with bucket, auger, and forks. That's a $40,000 piece of equipment. That's going to replace 2 John Deere tractors. Age unknown on those ones. Those are probably from the late 80s, early 90s, to be honest with you. They are falling apart. Again, where this comes in play, again, it's on tracks. So it really, this will be the primary tool in moving these headstones. They're about 120 pounds a piece. So we'll be able to move those with precision. We'll be able to move those a lot better, but also those rubber tracks distribute the weight more evenly, and we'll do way less damage to the ground. Primary functions there will include assisting with burials, cremation burials, and that's a big thing too that I want to touch on, the bucket. We're doing half cremations now to burials, and the cemetery plan, when we went ahead and did that, showed that that's where the market is and the trend of the cemeteries are going. So this will allow us to be more efficient in digging the cremation burial sites as well. So that's it. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Brian?
Thanks, Brian. Brian, primary function for the Exmark mower again?
Mowing.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was a good one, Brian.
You got it.
My understanding, just for the record here to clear it up, and this exhausts that
It does.
fund.
It does.
But for anything that we owe or may owe into the future based on where we're at today.
Right.
That's correct?
Yes, that is correct. And again, after this, that it's drained, these vehicle requests and stuff are going to have to start going into the operating budget and mix in with everything else. So but it is what it is, and this will last for a while. Yeah.
Cleans things up.
Any other questions? Dave?
Yeah, we discussed this at facilities pretty in-depthly. There is still a small reserve fund in case someone comes out of the woodwork
That
that
is
paid
correct.
for a burial, or
Yep.
paid for a plot that didn't
Yep.
get reimbursed yet.
That is correct.
So I
Yep.
just wanted to clarify that
Yep.
for everybody.
Yep. We definitely dotted our i's and crossed our t's with that, for sure.
Motion? Second? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Next is Water Environment Protection. Shannon?
Morning, everybody. Resolution 3A in front of you, unfortunately, is a authorization of a consent order agreement between WEP and New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. This is related to a trunk sewer overflow that we are having on our Freeman Ave trunk sewer, which comes from the Village of Solvay over towards our West Side pump station and then ultimately to the Metro wastewater treatment plant. Summer of 2024, we were notified by Chemtrade that there was a manhole that was overflowing into their parking lot, sanitary waste and various debris. So we went out, we investigated it, and we've got a capacity restriction in the downstream trunk sewer that's owned by the county. So predominantly the overflows are happening when there is wet weather, and so we need to obviously fix this. We know it's a problem that the intermediate solution, which we've met with the state, we've been talking to the adjacent property owners, we need to bolt down the manhole covers. When we do that, it's going to pressurize the system. So we now then need to come up with a solution to pump those connected sanitary customers into this sanitary sewer. Ultimately, we need to upsize the downstream trunk sewer to ensure that we have capacity for the full range of flows, both dry and wet weather. And so we've been working with DEC over the last couple of months to negotiate this agreement, to establish how we are going to do this, recognizing that it's a complex project, it's going to take some time. And so this is what you've got in front of us is what we've negotiated and settled with them. I think it's a good agreement. I think they've been very reasonable with us. They've provided us, as you can see, the agreement is a $100,000 penalty. They've suspended $90,000, only making $10,000 payable. And then with the addition of a $40,000 environmental benefit project for the Tully mud boils. You know, obviously, this is just the first part of this. We will be back at a later date once we do come up with the larger scale capital improvements that need to be implemented once we get into the engineering studies. So are there any questions on this?
Questions, Brian?
Yeah. Hey, Shannon.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't the first, it won't be the last. It's a massive system that
Yep.
the county maintains, and it's always going to get broken, it's always going to clog, it's always going to need updating, and it's always going to need to be better, right? So this is routine business. My question really has to do with the Tully mud boils. This is the second time we're throwing money at, are we getting any, or whoever's responsible, are we getting anywhere with that situation, or is it?
That's a good question, because I think we, under the Lake Creek one, we also gave $40,000 to the Central New York Regional Planning Development. You know, I don't know, we typically pay that. That's a project that then's done in conjunction with DEC, but that's a good question that, you know, Ben and I, we'll check in on it, and we'll get you an update on that.
It's more of a question, I think it's running through our Office of Environment, so I think I can follow up with Elizabeth and get an update on that, because that's a great question. I do think it's ongoing, and I haven't heard great solutions from it, but there are feasibility studies and planning,
Yeah,
and
I
I
mean,
think
it'd be nice
that's,
to know if this is just, you know, ongoing maintenance that
Yep.
we're always going to have to do, and, you know, better to direct these
Yeah.
penalties to something of benefit, such as what's being proposed, than just pay fines, right? Which
Yes,
makes
yeah.
no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We'll follow up and get back to you on that, Brian. And I do think it is important to note too, like, I think as we build out our collection system program and we become more aware, there are these issues that are out there. It's a 2,000 miles of sewers with 40,000 plus manholes. You know, I appreciate you acknowledging that. This is likely going to happen again.
Probably.
Yeah, that was just going to be my question. So we will probably see this happening again. And if it does, is there going to be additional fines from the DEC? How does that work?
In this specific location, this is an ongoing, and if anybody who signed up for New York Alerts, you're getting these emails.
Yeah.
And we will continue. So under this agreement, this will continue until we bolt down those manholes. Those overflows are going to continue. Some of the things that we have done since we became aware of this, we have installed cellular-based monitoring, so we've got level
Yeah,
sensors
okay.
out there, so we know instantly when it's going on, and
Yep.
it's really helping us monitor and measure. So we're collecting a lot of data, understand
Yep.
how frequently this is happening, how much it's happening. But this will continue until those manholes are bolted. And once those are bolted, which we expect to be able to hopefully do sometime next summer, again, what's keeping us from bolting them down now is we have to design pump stations for Chemtrade, for those adjacent properties. We have to give them those pump stations before we can bolt those down. So this will go on for the next year. But DEC has provided us some regulatory reporting relief, because currently under the regulations, every time that happens, within 5 days, we have to write a written report.
Yeah, okay.
So under this agreement, they're allowing us to provide that on a monthly basis instead, because they know, you know, this is going to continue.
Right. Any estimate as to what the ultimate cost of this is going to be? No?
We don't know. I mean, I think when we talk about the pump stations, we're probably a couple $100,000 for the intermediate. The long-term,
Right.
we don't know until we get an engineer in there and start doing some hydraulic studies and calculations and look at some different scenarios.
Okay.
oh, sorry, and the county will be negotiating O&M for these systems as well with the owners. In other words, it's not a single problem, it's a multifaceted, complex problem, and we believe that it'll be a benefit to both parties. So there is a negotiation that will happen as to operation and maintenance costs for those systems.
And so in the scope of things, like when you talk pump station, a lot of the things we've been funding are like, oh my gosh, major pump stations.
So these
The
are like,
capacity, this is
these are
not
like the little
meaty,
ones
right?
that you would see on a property, like on a residential home, like a little, we call them grinder pumps, but they're nothing like what we're building up in White Pine or on like the Orange parking lot like that, nothing like that.
Not
no.
to be confused with.
Not to be confused. Pump stations come in a wide range of sizes.
And Brian, I have a climate smart committee with Elizabeth and, you know, the Office of Environment people. I can ask tomorrow. And we are on CNY Regional Planning and Development Board, so I'll find out about the Tully mud boil projects.
Thanks.
Yep.
Dan?
Hi, Shannon. So my question is, when we bolt down the covers and add the pump stations, do we have to worry about the pressure in the system compromising the system?
No, so we're not talking about like super high pressure, we're talking a couple of inches. So when this is surcharging, and Dan, you'll appreciate this because, you know, your background, what's happening is it's actually a low spot, right? So there's high ground upstream, there's high ground downstream, and where chemtrade sits is in a bowl. And so the sewers are really shallow, and so when it backs up a little bit, it comes up maybe an inch or two out of the manhole. So we're talking a couple inches of pressure, not feet or, so, and again, these are gravity sewers that can handle a lot more.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll move it.
Dan?
I'll second it, but, yeah, I'll be very curious to see what the Tully mud boil situation is. This is a situation where, if ever there was an example of Mother Nature always wins, it's the Tully mud boils. I remember years ago, the federal government actually had a proposal to flood the valley to stop the mud boils, which I thought that was kind of, you know, killing the patient to cure the disease. But anyway, yeah. So I'd be very curious to see what $40,000 is gonna do. I've been down there many times. They're pretty fascinating, actually. But yeah.
Looks just like it did in the 90s when it sloughed off the hill.
Yeah. No, I mean they've done all kinds of things to try and stop them, and it's almost like playing whack-a-mole because they'll stop them in one place and they'll just show up a few feet away. So anyway.
Okay. We had a motion, we had a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Next is community development. With some good news for our towns and villages.
Morning. I am here today to ask for your approval of the 2025 action plan for our 3 HUD grants, the Community Development Block Grant, the Home Grant, and the Emergency Solutions Grant. The action plan has already been reviewed and approved by our steering committee, and just looking at the funding, basically the funding stayed flat with just a little adjustment here or there. For all 3 grants, which isn't a surprise because the government's operating on a continuing resolution, so everything gets pretty much level funded for the year. So we have just under $2.4 million for the block grant, $674,000 for the home grant, and $174,000 for the emergency solutions grant. We had 18 municipalities apply for projects for the block grant, and we were able to award every single one the amount that they requested, which is always our goal. And then we have $5,000 for a rise and $50,000 for CNY fair housing. In addition, we have our emergency solutions grants where we awarded 6 different entities. And the awards were not what they initially applied for, but that's usually the case because they always apply for a lot and we only have $173,000. But the way we do this program for emergency solution grants, Sue Boyle, our deputy director, meets with Sue McMahon, who runs the ESG program for the city, Monica Brown, and Stephanie Pasquale from Allen Foundation, and Megan Stewart from the Housing and Homeless Coalition. And between the 4 of them and Sue, they all have an idea of who needs what and who gets what, and so they're able to guide us with the applications to spend the money in the most effective manner. That's pretty much the gist of it all. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question, Brian?
So, first and foremost, Marty, as a member of that steering committee, thanks to you and your team for the process you put together for this. There's a lot of people on that committee coming from all over the county. You guys do a fantastic job
Thank you.
presenting the information and getting us through the process about as efficiently as I've ever seen it. You know, the descriptions on the local projects in particular are very well done. And I think it's important to point out to legislators that there's in most cases, a pretty substantial local match in comparison with the local award. So these local municipalities are putting some skin in the game. They're benefiting from that effort, and they're benefiting from the collaboration that you guys provide with them to make sure these applications are on track. I remember a few years ago, it seemed a lot more difficult to get some of these projects and municipalities to the finish line with these applications, and now it seems, at least from a committee member standpoint, to come off without a hitch, so thanks for that.
Sure, thank you.
Yep.
Colleen?
Dave?
Yeah, just to continue on that, big shout out to Mike LaFleur. I mentioned him at Planning Committee as well for managing this process. And it's not an easy process, a lot of paperwork, and most of our towns and villages are part-time people, and so, you know, staying after that's important. And just for clarification as well, the city of Syracuse gets a big pot of its own money
Correct.
to do this similar
Yes, they do.
process with.
Yes. Yes, they do. They get a larger amount. Yeah, Michael Fleurs also has the job of making sure they spend it.
Yes.
There's a lot of towns and village people who see that phone light up with Michael Fleurs, and they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Marty. So my question is, how does that match get calculated? How do they determine how much?
They have to put a minimum of 25% in.
Okay.
So whatever they apply for, they have to have a minimum of 25%. And then the ones that are bigger, like the town of DeWitt, you know, they're doing a major sidewalk project, and so they have a state grant that they're using, and then they're taking some of our funding to help get them over the finish line.
Okay. Thank you.
While I have you here, can I ask you for a little update on the Veteran Shape Up program and where we are going with that?
Sure.
Are we moving forward with more applications?
No, currently people are being put on a waiting list because the funding that we had has all been expended.
Okay,
And we're in the process of doing the work. So the funding history for the Shape Up for Veterans was that in 2022, the county executive put $1 million in his executive budget for the program.
Yep.
Then in 2024, the legislature, through the Ways and Means Committee, put $77,000 into it. All that money's been allocated. We've completed 49 jobs for around $950,000, and we have 9 jobs that are under contract in various stages that will be over the course of the rest of this year. We'll be getting those done, and that uses
Okay.
up the remaining funding.
so for the 2026 budget, will there be more money put into that? Or is that something that you're not sure at this time? Okay, or
Yeah.
we have to consider putting more money into that? But, so you do have a wait list?
We currently have
9,
people
yeah.
that we have on a waiting list, and we do try, a couple of them we're trying to roll over into our regular Shape Up program.
Yeah, okay,
So the difference between Shape Up for Veterans and Shape Up is that you have to be 62 or older for a Shape Up program, but there's no age limit on a Shape Up for Veterans program.
right, okay,
So if we can, we're trying to roll them over into the Shape Up program.
okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep.
No, Deja?
I just wanted to follow the sentiment. I'm glad you mentioned the DeWitt project, because I was going to mention the DeWitt project. It's just a great thing to see that all 18 municipalities got their projects and the money that they needed, because I read a couple of them, and they were great projects, really essentially needed in our communities.
Yeah, the DeWitt project's great because they're going to take the sidewalks from Thompson Road all the way down to the Jewish Community Center. A few years ago, we funded them doing it from Erie Boulevard up to Thompson Road.
Yeah.
And so now, and then on whatever that road is that I graduated from Lemoyne and can't tell you what I used to drive every day, they're going to put where Springfield Gardens is, they're going to put like
Yes.
3 crosswalks in on different spots down that street. So
Yeah.
it's a really good project.
It is. It's just cringing. I drive that way all the time, and just to see the people walking up and down, it's like, oh my God, get a sidewalk.
Yeah,
So, very appreciative. Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is health.
I do have a change on the health. Dan pointed out there was a typo. It said the second whereas in the Onondaga County Office of Environment's budget. It should have said the health department's, but I did type up.
Okay.
Good morning. Rebecca Schultz, Deputy Commissioner with the Health Department. I'm here to request that the 2025 budget be amended to allow us to accept $5 million in grant funds from the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. And this project is going to focus on developing infrastructure on site at the regional market to allow smaller and mid-sized farms to aggregate their products and have those be available for school meal programs throughout the region. So in this project is really a cross-sector benefit for our community, to benefiting the agriculture, the educational sectors. There's actually also a component of the project that is devoted to workforce development. So there's going to be a commercial kitchen available to help train the next generation of food service workers in our community as well. So while this project is focused primarily on school food infrastructure development, we see a lot of potential for expansion to other types of institutional food service operations as the years go on.
When do you see a start date on this?
Well, in typical state fashion, the contract was supposed to start March 15th of this year. We were actually notified in May that we got the award. So we're currently awaiting the contract to come back to us for review and signature, but as soon as we have that, we can get going.
Start going, okay. Questions, Brian?
Just a comment, I guess, that, with the district sort of pulling out of the market, I think it's great that we're seeing the bigger picture anyways,
Yeah.
making this investment. And, I think pulling out when they did was unfortunate. But I think it's great that we're stepping up to do the right thing in these circumstances. So, thanks.
You mean the state?
Pardon me?
The state, the funding from the state? Yeah, okay. Good. Dave?
Yeah, thanks to the Health Department for staying after this. This was the first time we did not receive the grant, but they got right back after it and reapplied, and now we got it. So thank you for being persistent. Also, shout out to Cornell Cooperative Extension, who helped a lot with putting the grant together and everything else, and obviously the folks at the regional market. I serve on the board out there now, and this is especially with the state money going away, this is a really important piece. So thanks again for sticking with it.
Yeah.
Question
Oh, Julie, hold on a minute. Dan's next, okay? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm really glad we're doing this. I've been talking with people about this for years. Can you help me understand, like, where it's going and how it fits into that broader picture over there?
Sure. So the majority of the budget is for equipment. There's some funds for scoping development, architectural, legal services, that sort of thing, just to kind of get it off the ground. But the bulk is going to be to physically outfit the space to allow for processing products and storing products. There's a lack of both dry and cold storage right now at the facility, and we'll be able to actually implement a quick freezing line. So our favorite example to use is carrot coins. Lots of school lunch programs like to serve carrot coins. So if we kind of walk that through from the beginning, small farms who harvest carrots can combine their products with other small farms who harvest carrots. They can be washed, peeled, and diced right there at the facility, quickly frozen for future use, and then stored until they can be distributed to the schools that need them. So because schools need that amount of product, it's been challenging up until now because we haven't had the infrastructure for those smaller farms to access that market. So this will help to put all those pieces together to make that process work much better.
Yeah, I love it. What building, though? I don't know what building.
Well, when we wrote the application, because of the timing, we were still unsure about the other funding, whether that was going to come through from the state or not. So in our minds, we had a couple of different, like Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, whether this funding would be leveraged with the other funding or standalone. So because it is primarily a standalone project at this point, the market folks are still determining the best site to make sure that this can come to fruition while still being cognizant of future plans that might kind of roll in all together.
Can-
You're good?
Yeah, can we just, when we find out how,
Yeah.
can we, do you know when you'll know? Like, is it, you're planning now and,
I would expect that we would have some more finalized plans probably by late summer, early fall for what that's going to look like.
all right, thank you.
Sure.
Future updated health committee, Cody Kelly. Wherever you are. Okay, Julie, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, you answered a bunch. We're both like school board minds.
Yeah,
We're like
those are good.
all over this. This is so exciting. You answered a bunch of my questions. Thank you, Dan. But I did want to know, do all of our school districts participate, or so everybody does?
Well, for the purposes of this application, I think we had about 9 districts sign on and provide letters of support saying that they would be interested in working on this project if we're funded. But the potential is there to bring on every district, and we're hopeful that, especially when we start to show success for some of the ones, the early adopters, then others will come on. And this is actually a regional project, so it's not limited to Onondaga County districts. You know, once we have the capacity, any district in the central New York region can hop on.
That's great. So it'll be communicated to everybody and then hopefully expanding. Okay, that's awesome. Thanks.
Are we one of the first counties, though, that are trying to do this process? Are
Yep,
there any?
so the funds, they want to give away, they're going to fund each region over
Yeah.
a period of 5 years. So year 1 was last year and we weren't funded. Year 2, we are funded. So this year it's us and the Long Island region.
Okay.
But all the projects are slightly different. They just have to focus on improving access to local foods and school food programs. But, you know, our project is specifically focused on this infrastructure development.
Okay. Good. Nadisha?
I'm glad you had a cooking component. I taught for 10 years in the after-school program, a healthy cooking class, and I remember there was a grant that Wegmans brought in healthy fruits and veggies into the school district, and it disappeared quickly. But I was going to ask what Julie asked, because that was only to Onondaga County, and the other school districts inquired. But that is, let us know when you teach those cooking classes. I might come teach one.
And we think that there could be opportunity here to enhance education in the school districts about food systems and helping to really let everybody understand where their food is coming from and how it gets, you know, from the farm to their school lunch trays.
And Cornell does an excellent job with the book
do.
readings that we do when we go into the classroom and read about food to table, farm to table.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll move it.
Dave, move it. We got a second. Nadisha, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Next is personnel.
Morning. So over the past several years, certainly in the post-COVID timeframe, personnel's been evaluating and has identified certain gaps in our ability to attract and retain talent, particularly at the MC level. And in an effort to address that and to be a little more competitive in the marketplace, one of the big gaps is leave time in the initial year of employment. Currently, by legislative resolution, MCs newly hired can use their vacation leave as they accrue it, but that is the vacation leave that becomes available to them in their second year. So anything they use in their first year is time that they can't use in their second year. So in an effort to make government employment with Onondaga County more attractive, we're putting forth this resolution to provide for 5 days of paid time off in the first year of employment for MCs. The 5 days will be basically use it or lose it. If your 1 year comes up and you haven't used all of the 5 days, you would lose the balance. But that would mean that they hadn't used any of their vacation time, so they would have all of that available in their second year. It does not, this resolution does not change Resolution 181 from 2010, which does give the ability to borrow, so they could use the PTO and still borrow from their vacation if they so choose. But this is a small step in trying to deal with some of the problems that we're having with recruitment and retainment of high-quality employees. Any questions?
Yes, Brian?
Oh,
Go ahead.
necessary, right?
I think
You know,
in the current environment, in the way that the workforce these days views work-life balance, it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, it's, you know, I know in the private sector, it's a decision we had to make a long time ago. You know, you can't bring people on and have them wait for benefits too long.
We're only 20 years behind the private sector.
Right.
Not too bad.
Yeah, so it's, I think it's a good move, definitely worth supporting.
So what happens if somebody comes on board and they use their vacation and then they do leave now, or?
To the PTO?
Yeah.
The PTO does not get cashed out. It has no value whatsoever. It is
Okay.
only for leave time.
Okay.
So if someone left before their completion of their 1 year where there was still PTO on the books, it just goes away.
Okay.
And it goes away once that 1 year, once they start their second year, there is no more PTO, then they would start using their normal accruals, the vacation time, the personal time, so forth.
Right, okay. They don't get paid out.
There's no payout
They
for
leave
it.
it, yeah.
It
So
says
that's-
in the resolution, there
Yeah,
is no
okay.
cash value, there's no
Okay.
payout for it.
Good.
I can't hear. Not on the PTO, no, there would not be.
Any other questions?
I'll move it.
I'll second it as well, but I've had folks mention this to me in the past who are considering employment here, that this was a concern.
It has been a barrier. I've done enough interviewing and trying to recruit people where this has been a reason why people have turned down employment with the county.
Just another quick question, is there going to be any issues between that and the collective bargaining agreement with it because it's a little different?
Well, no,
No.
this is just for MCs. This is
Right.
not for all employees. We would
Right.
have to bargain for this with the unions, and we have to an extent. We've begun
Okay.
to do that with some of the bargaining units that we're
Okay.
with. It's our plan to eventually, over time, as they come up, to continue to introduce it, but it depends upon what the unions want.
Sure.
They're not obligated to
Right.
accept it. They
Right,
might
yeah.
want something else.
Okay. Good. We had a motion, we had a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next is law.
For the record, legislators, the two resolutions you are to consider are concerning an auto accident claim settlement and a settlement of Wright v. County of Onondaga, and I would therefore recommend such be discussed in executive session.
You made a motion?
I move to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing an auto accident claim and Wright versus the County of Onondaga.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. You said this, or do I?
Non-essential county employees, anyone who's not a county employee can leave. Or must leave, I should say.
Let's say, committee will now enter into executive session. All members
they're back on now? For the record, no motion or actions were taken during executive session. Now, do we prove these? No. Or they're considered, and then we'll make a determination when we have session? Okay. So there's no other business, and the meeting is adjourned.
And if you guys want to leave the resos, I can pick them up on the way. Or you can keep them, obviously, they're yours to keep.